Frum, senior editor for The Atlantic and author of the New York Times bestseller, Trumpocracy. Also with us, Julia Ainsley, national security and justice reporter for NBC News, and Harry Litman, a former U.S. attorney and deputy assistant attorney general under President Clinton. He is now a professor at the University of California, San Diego. Harry Litman, what does the Andrew McCabe's departure mean for the investigation?
Well, it's hard to say what it means for the investigation, except I think that the Bureau has been cowed. It's we have another breathless day of news, and you get used to taking a couple days to assess. But this really feels like a dark day to me. The sort of institutions you look to check Trump, the professional law enforcement staff or the Congress, now look to be both either cowed or complicit in his absolute assault on the Mueller investigation. So with the release of the memo, we'll want to know whether there's going to be now Rod Rosenstein in the crosshairs. And just in general, I think the FBI is a very shaken place this evening.
David Frum, your reaction to McCabe's announcement that he's leaving, that he left today?
I think from the beginning of this presidency, it's been clear. You can have the Donald Trump presidency, or you can have the rule of law, not both. Today was a good day for the Donald Trump presidency and a bad day for the rule of law. Not just the early departure of an FBI acting director that President Trump didn't like, but also the mobilization of the entire majority of the House Intelligence Committee, a committee that was created in the 1970s to protect the public interest against the excesses of intelligence, a mobilization of that committee to act as the president's personal PR shop and disinformation team.
Julia Ainsley, what do we know about why today? There was this public indications that Andrew McCabe would retire in March when he reached a certain point in his federal employment where that would make sense in terms of his future benefits. But what happened? What made it happen today?
Right, Lawrence. So this is coming about 6 weeks before we would have expected McCabe's planned retirement. He would have stepped down with his retirement, gotten all of the benefits that he would for his long service. He'll still retire with that, but right now he's just totally stepping aside from his position as deputy director. And we know that it's because he was under pressure both from this president and the administration, putting broad pressure on the FBI, pressure on him specifically, like what Carol Lee laid out in her reporting, and also under pressure from Chris Wray. There have been some reports that have emerged tonight about a Inspector General report that's expected out of the Justice Department that lays out details about McCabe and Comey and their handling of the Clinton email investigation. And for whatever reason, Wray speaking to McCabe, that conversation made McCabe think that he needed to step down because of that pressure. That's the next thing we're chasing. We want to know what those details are, whether or not this pressure was valid or not. But I think it's like your last guest said, we have seen a furthering along these polarizing lines today between Republicans and Democrats and how people are interpreting this investigation. And McCabe stepping down is being interpreted completely differently by either Republicans who believe that he was in charge of or oversaw a completely biased investigation or oversaw a Clinton investigation in a biased way, and Democrats who think that he was pressured out by a president who doesn't have respect for the FBI.
Senator Ron Wyden is one of those Democrats who's concerned about this. He said tonight the FBI Director Wray needs to testify in public about his role over the last few months during Trump's attacks on McCabe. Has he stood by his deputy director or given in to pressure? Harry Litman, that would be another unprecedented Senate hearing if Ron Wyden gets his way.
Yeah, it's just one unprecedented thing after another. But Wray had been had stood by very steadfastly and suggested he would resign if they tried to oust McCabe. But exactly as Julia said, there's apparently something in another shoe to drop in this IG report that hasn't issued yet. And you know, the IG has been called up to by the majority, by Nunes's committee, to talk to them tomorrow about it. We'll see how much he reveals. But there's obviously going to be some peccadillo that they're going to use to really try to lambaste McCabe.
James Comey tweeted tonight, Special Agent Andrew McCabe stood tall over the last 8 months when small people were trying to tear down an institution we all depend on. He served with distinction for 2 decades. I wish Andy well. I also wish continued strength for the rest of the FBI. America needs you. And David Frum, the President Trump will take that as proof that, of course, Andrew McCabe should have been fired. He's obviously a James Comey guy.
Can we think just for a moment of how demented it all is? That the Trump administration,
yes,
on its way to shutting down an inquiry into, doing its best to shut down an inquiry into Russia's help to Donald Trump, opportunistically postures as the vindicators of Hillary Clinton's campaign integrity, and so the reason we're firing all these people is in order to avenge some wrong against Hillary Clinton. And this is maybe a point where Hillary Clinton, I know she has a lot of wrong feelings against James Comey. If she wants to do her country one final service in public life, she needs to declare an amnesty on the handling, whatever falls she may feel about the handling of her emails, to say that do not fire these people on my behalf, please. Do not make what they did against me an excuse for shutting down the FBI and turning it into Donald Trump's disinformation shop.
And Julia, we see Eric Holder also tweeting praise for Andrew McCabe, and again on the Republican, certainly in the Republican House. And possibly in the Republican Senate, and definitely in the White House. Eric Holder saying FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe is and has been a dedicated public servant. They believe that proves their case.
Right. I mean, I think the idea, but we were talking about before about how polarized this entire investigation, or at least the perceptions of this investigation, have become. It doesn't really help much to have someone like James Comey or Eric Holder standing up for Andrew McCabe. But let's remember that he is someone who served under different administrations. He served at the FBI since 1996. He served under Republicans, under Democrats. He served under Robert Mueller and James Comey. And he is someone who could have left much earlier and cashed in his position for a lot more money in the private sector, as a lot of his predecessors have done, but he has stayed there. And I think that's what these reactions are coming from today. There are people who say that the fact that someone who has been really a part of the fabric of this agency is having to leave under these political pressures is a problem, and they think that it's a red herring for what's really happening in this administration, and really is unprecedented in terms of the relationship between the White House and the FBI.
Let's listen to the president's explanation to his followers and supporters about why Andrew McCabe should go. He was asked this just last week. Listen to this question and answer.
Should McCabe go? Should McCabe go, Mr. President? Should McCabe go?
Well, McCabe got more than $500,000 from essentially Hillary Clinton, and is he investigating Hillary Clinton?
So, David Frum, 2 lies there. Number one, McCabe did not get $500,000. He did not get anything. He certainly did not get anything from Hillary Clinton. His wife, as a political candidate, got about $500,000 from a PAC controlled by the then governor of Virginia, having nothing to do with Hillary Clinton. But the president, in explaining his position on the deputy director of the FBI, can tell lies that just sail right through.
And can we also stress that Andrew McCabe's wife, who's a person in her own right, who has her own life, was running for state office?
Yes.
State office where they deal with snow removal, the Virginia state budget, whether or not houses should be taxed more and cars taxed less. Those are the issues of Virginia roads, highways, whether or not there should be a subway that opens in the parking lot of Dulles Airport all the way inside Dulles Airport. Those are the issues of the Virginia state legislature. They have nothing to do with the work of the FBI.
And the biggest lie of all, Lawrence, at the time when she was running, he had nothing to do with the Clinton investigation in the FBI. It wasn't until after the election that he took the reins at all.
Exactly. Harry, David, Julia, thanks all of you. Really.